7 decades ago, a chilling question hung over American streets: could the killer who sang lullabies be hiding in plain sight? For the first time, cities like Chicago and Miami felt the unspeakable thunder of the unknown. This film lifts the veil on the minds and habitats of those who shattered quiet lives. The groundwork of 1,000 unanswered prayers is about to be laid bare. Serial killers have haunted headlines, yet every name carries a pattern that researchers now study with obsessive precision. The documentary pulls in expert testimony, court transcripts, and recovered evidence to weave a map of violence that feels both clinical and human. We begin with the psychological signatures that connect disparate cases, bringing context to the headlines. By following the story thread, we invite viewers into the hidden machinery behind the crimes. The era of modern serial killers began in the 1970s, when law enforcement realized such crimes were not random but purposeful. Early investigators struggled with fragmented evidence and limited forensic technology. As the decade progressed, agencies slowly refined typologies, focusing on victim selection, signature, and escalation. This period also witnessed the emergence of the FBI's Most Wanted list, exposing the national urgency that drove the field. In 1979, a clandestine killer targeted teenagers in the suburbs of West Palm Beach, breaking into homes and plucking victims from sleeping beds. He left a chilling calling card, an unfamiliar chord of silence that later became a forensic marker. The methodical nature of the attack set a precedent for the stalker's future range, spanning coastal towns and interior highways. Each murder bore witnesses of a startling calm that framed the psychological oddity of this cold-blooded pursuit. Sergeant Paul Stewart led a multifaceted task force that pooled DNA, ballistic, and behavioral analysis. The breakthrough came when forensic genealogy matched a unique hair sample from a crime scene to a distant relative in Ohio. Parallel data on flight patterns, stolen vehicles, and telephone records all converged on a single address. The hunt revealed that the killer's acquaintances who once thought him a nice guy now faced the grim reality of his darkness. The suspect for the West Palm Beach murders eventually turned your attention to 1975 Chicago, when John Wayne Gacy's string of victims faded into the quiet streets of Cicero. By the time the Pennsylvania State Police photographically documented Gacy's killer clown, law enforcement had reassembled his almost immediate record of red-faced deception. In 1992, authorities closed the case on Jeremy Dyson, a former convict who in 1985 concocted a narrative of molestation crimes that later turned out to be nothing more than a copycat. Each suspect, while tied to these notorious names, reveals society's tragic inability to differentiate charisma from pathology. Over a decade of cross-jurisdictional coordination culminated in the capture of each serial killer that day. Gacy's 1994 trial ended in a death sentence, while Bundy's 1979 execution marked the final chapter of his spree across multiple states. The forensic synergy applied to Jeffrey Dahmer's 1992 arrest nullified the era's loss. A modern genome allowed investigators to confirm eyewitness accounts of strangulation and dismemberment. With each conviction, a part of the investigative maze unravels and reforms for future prevention. This narrative is no thin attempt to sensationalize, it is a sobering exposure of how predators masquerade behind normalcy. Following each step from obscure terror to public justice, the system transforms unknowns into solved mysteries, yet the cost remains. The time now is to answer, with knowledge gained, what do we do to stop society from repeating the cycle? The next chapter is yours. How do you think law enforcement should change to spot these hidden dangers earlier? What's your answer? Share your thoughts below.